In professional sports, you hear so much about collective bargaining agreement, this, and this is how this works. But do you actually know what collective bargaining means and how it works in the NBA? Well, if you want to know more about that, make sure to give this video a thumbs up or a thumbs down because it's your thumb, and let's go ahead and get into it. Currently, the NBA is still working off of their 2017 collective bargaining agreement. This agreement ends in the 2023-2024 season. But the league and or players have until December 15th, 2022 to decide if they would like to opt out of the final year of that collective bargaining agreement, which would be the 2022-2023 NBA season. And this agreement is a contract between the Players Association and the owners, which is more like the Players Association in the league in general. For example, two of the big things that came from their most recent collective bargaining agreement is that players get 51% shared revenue in the league split between the owners, as well as former players have an opportunity to enroll in an apprenticeship and be a coach for a G League program or office, as this allows them to really set up more of their life past their post-career and give them those opportunities. But since the end of their current collective bargaining agreement is right around the corner, I want to talk about some of the possible changes that can be seen in their new collective bargaining agreement, especially if they are going to opt out of that final year. The biggest thing that could be seen in the new collective bargaining agreement is more money and opportunities offered to players, as the NBA is looking to sign a new TV deal worth $75 billion that could start in 2025 with networks like CBS and ESPN. And talking about money, contract extensions for players will probably be looked at as well, as currently a player must have a 3-year contract to even be looked at for entering a contract extension conversation. But to go along with those contract extensions, player movement will definitely be discussed in the new collective bargaining agreement talks, as we've seen a lot of that in recent years. From KD's large move from Golden State to the Nets, or Kyrie's move from the Celtics to the Nets, or even James Harden, who's been on like 5 different teams in the past 3 days. Because a lot of these started from their sitting out, holding out. For example, when Anthony Davis held out against the Pelicans and even like discussed publicly how much he wanted to be traded. So those conversations and attitudes toward players' reactions to them wanting to leave teams will definitely be discussed. And one of the biggest ones is players wanting more stake and ownership into the league. This one's probably less likely to happen, as owners will definitely turn their nose to this idea, but it's kind of already going on, as we all know about LeBron GM and how that worked, even though it didn't work out too well for him this season. But the executive director of the NBA Players Association said that players really want to be a part of the party and really have some say when it comes to the NBA and how things run, especially after they had that situation with Donald Sterling. But all of this conversation about ownership stake was really started in 2021 when Renee Montgomery was announced as part of an ownership group for the Atlanta Dream, as she was the first WNBA player to have ownership stake in a team. Now, obviously there's people who have ownership stakes in teams in the NBA, but they were retired when they did that. Some of the biggest issues that come with players having ownership stake is that would everyone have part in the ownership, or will this be saved for the superstars? As well as players have a set amount of space in the salary cap, and so will their ownership stake and equity be a part of that salary cap, or will they have to adjust it? Now, make sure you stay around for next week, as we'll be talking all about the NBA salary cap. So go ahead and subscribe and hit the bell. One of the biggest issues is that if they get traded, does their equity come out of that team? Do they have the opportunity to sell it, or is it just washed away? Or can they still have equity in that team but play for another team? Like, there's so many issues that could go around with a player having ownership while still playing. But I do think in this next collective bargaining agreement, some big changes are going to be on the way. But on the plus side for the NBA, right now they're not having those big tensions like the MLB had, which caused them to have a lockout for the first month of their original season. So it should be smooth sailing, hopefully, for the NBA during their collective bargaining agreement talks. Well, now that you know so much about the NBA collective bargaining agreement, make sure to check out this video right here as I talk all about NBA Supermax deals and how they actually kind of do help out with collective bargaining agreement conversations. As well as subscribe and hit the bell to be notified every time I post a new video, which are on Mondays at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Leave me a comment down below telling me, do you think any of these possible changes could actually come about in the next NBA collective bargaining agreement? As well as give this video a thumbs up or a thumbs down because it's your thumb. And remember, don't be afraid to join the convo.